Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. GST cuts will 100% boost consumption, says the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Rules out any cut to government capex or any fiscal slippage. Also says alcohol and fuel will not come under the GST ambit in the near future. That's an exclusive. Finance Minister hopes the US tariffs are not a long-haul situation, says exporters cannot be left high and dry, promises a new package after cabinet approval. Also asserts that India will continue to buy Russian oil. President Trump posts a picture of Prime Minister Modi meeting China's Xi Jinping and Russia's Vladimir Putin. Trump says it appears we have lost India and Russia to China. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says the US is willing to talk, but he expects India to be at the table within a month or two, but calls on India to stop buying Russian oil and stop being a part of the BRICS. The Finance Minister says India is open to relaxing stringent rules imposed on Chinese investments, but also calls for a meaningful dialogue with China on improving market access for Indian companies. Says a lot of work needs to be done when it comes to trade and business ties between both nations. The Sensex and the Nifty gain 1% this week despite a flat close on Friday. The mid-cap index gains over 2%. The rupee hits a record low against the dollar as it stays above the 88 mark. Shares of Ola Electric decline over 7% after SoftBank offloads 2% stake in the company through block deals in less than 2 months. SoftBank's stake in the electric scooter maker now stands at just over 15%. President Trump hosts tech CEOs at the White House. Meta founder Zuckerberg, Microsoft's Bill Gates, Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai, OpenAI founder Sam Altman in attendance. Trump calls them a high IQ group leading a revolution in business, vows to impose tariffs on semicon companies not shifting production to the US. The death toll due to flooding in Punjab rises to 43. Red alert in Ludhiana as an embankment comes under pressure. Heavy rains lash Delhi and the Yamuna River continues to flow above the danger mark. Israel claims it has captured 40% of the Gaza City, says it plans to expand operations further. At least 44 Palestinians killed in Gaza in the last 24 hours. Hamas-led health ministry claims children account for 30% of deaths since the war began in 2023. Well, let's start with the day's market action. As always, the Indian market ending the day flat after a range-bound session. The Nifty held on to the 24,700 mark. Auto stocks continued to see gains. Remember, they've been in top gear since the GST cuts were announced. IT stocks, though, were dragging the Nifty lower today. But for the week, the market has gained back what it lost. 1% higher on the Nifty, 1% higher on the Sensex, and 2.5% higher there as far as the mid-cap index is concerned. All sectoral indices recorded gains, with metal and auto stocks leading the pack. That was the action as far as the markets were concerned. But the big exclusive newsmaker of the day, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, speaking exclusively to Network 18 Editor-in-Chief Rahul Joshi, just days after the GST Council approved the mega GST rate cuts. Here are the top 5 headlines first. The Finance Minister said she was confident that the needle will move on consumption after the GST cuts. In fact, she said 100% confident. She clarified that petroleum and alcohol will continue to stay out of the GST ambit in the near future. Remember, it was not part of the centre's proposal that was cleared by the GST Council. The Finance Minister also says the government will adhere to its capex plan as well as its fiscal glide path. In fact, the Finance Minister going as far as to say that my fiscal math is absolutely fine. The Finance Minister also said she was hopeful that US tariffs would not be a long-haul situation, but added that the government would not leave exporters, in her words, high and dry. She said the government was working on an assistance package for exporters. It requires cabinet approval, and that is a work in progress. She said India will continue to import Russian oil. The Finance Minister also spoke about the rise in Indo China ties, the reset. Of course, she said that there needs to be more meaningful dialogue with China, but the government is open to relaxing the rules that were imposed on Chinese investments via Press Note 3. She has called for a meaningful dialogue with China on improving market access for Indian companies. Those are just the top 5 headlines from the Finance Minister. We have plenty more that's coming up for you.
You've put more money into the hands of the consumer. You brought down for the middle classes, the income tax cut, and now rationalization of GST. So will it now finally sort of move the needle on consumption?
100%. Because there's more money given already through the income tax cut.
Right.
The rates are coming down. So the citizen now has a choice to meet his aspirations and his expectations. He cannot say, look, I have the money because the income tax is reduced, but these items are beyond my affordability. Now everything has come down. Okay. I'll give you this number which is important. 99% of all the goods and services which are touched by GST are now either in 0 or in 5 or in 18.
That's right.
There's nothing beyond. So that 1% is what makes for the demerit goods, which popular parlance says sin goods.
Yeah.
So that is the extent to which we have cleansed the system of anomalies, doubts, duplications, and any interpretative issues.
So this will also lead to higher investments. It will fire up investments as well.
Obviously, with consumption going up, there's a potential for capacities to grow, investments to grow.
Now the combined tax revenue impact of this, earlier your income tax cuts and this is about 1.2 lakh crore. Do you think that there will be a certain revenue buoyancy as well in the coming years to make up for this? And
every economic theory that one studies says that.
Yeah, have you seen that in the past?
At least the moment the income tax reduction happened, you heard people very clearly coming out and saying, I've met up with a lot of individuals coming from different strata of the society saying, I'll have more money to send my son to this particular college. My daughter is already doing engineering. I'll be able to fund her for her higher studies and things like that. And from ordinary citizens who are leading their lives either working in a small store or driving a car, taxi, and so on. So it has an immediate psychological effect that I can do this, which was beyond my affordability. And therefore, I think there will be a buoyancy in terms of revenue.
Any impact on capital spending or fiscal deficit?
I wouldn't think. At this moment, I can say with confidence, capital expenditure of the government will not come down. It will be completed as is stated in the budgetary planning time, the budget estimate time, and so with the fiscal deficit. And this is the last point of my gliding path. Right. I will adhere to it.
Will petroleum products and alcohol continue to be outside the ambit of GST?
Yes, the current proposal doesn't include it. Right. The states will have to.
And you don't see that happening in the near future?
Not in the immediate future.
How could we make the Chinese markets more accessible to Indian companies? There is, of course, a huge deficit of $100 billion here. So how do we do that? What are the next steps?
There's just a lot of work to be done in that area. There's no hiding it. We need to have trade conversations, market access conversations, non-tariff barrier conversations with the Chinese. Unless we do that, and unless there is a true engagement and not a procrastinating engagement, you may talk as much as you want on these issues. I've done it myself. And to have a conclusion arrived at takes a lot of time with the Chinese.
Will it also be reciprocal? Press Note 3 prevents investments from China to India. So would you look at, doing something about that as well?
As it is, I think in one or two cases, particular cases, we have relaxed some of them. And in those sectors where their technology has come in, and the technicians and also the experts had to come to actually see the projects through, we have not allowed these experts to come. That is now changed. In some sectors, people are coming in, where projects are already on the ground.
So India will be open to that idea?
Of course. Yes. There is a package which consists of very many different ways in which we want to help them. So we'll wait for the cabinet to clear it, but there is something coming to help them so that this tirade of the tariff is something which they can face, and also suddenly having to look for newer markets is also a challenge, but we'll have to help them out on that.
So is there a sense in the government that this could be a slightly longer haul?
We hope not, but we really can't leave our exporters high and dry saying it's going to change sooner. We will work with them.
Nirmaji, will we also continue to buy Russian oil?
Yes, that's been made very plain and simple. Whether it is Russian oil or anything else, it's our decision to buy from the place which suits our needs.
Well, that is the finance minister, and you just heard her there speak about the fact that there will be an assistance package for exporters, very clearly saying we cannot leave exporters high and dry. Our colleague Shivani has been working on putting that together. What is that special package that MSMEs could expect to soften the tariff blow? Shivani, thanks very much for joining us. What are you picking up? What could be the contours of that special package?
Well, yes, the government is drafting what sources describe as a comprehensive mega package for MSMEs, specifically the small and medium exporters, who are collectively facing losses of approximately 45 to 80 billion US dollars due to 50% US tariffs. At the heart of the blueprint could be 5 new schemes modeled on the COVID-era credit guarantee programs, but tailored, of course, to the current challenges. The schemes will be designed to provide easy access to working capital so exporters don't run into liquidity crunches. Second, they're also thinking of expanding the collateral-free loan limit to 20 lakh rupees from the current 10 lakh, easing credit flow for smallest enterprises, offer targeted interest subventions to bring down lending costs, unlock equity financing is also one of the plans that is being discussed, allowing firms to raise growth capital without adding to debt, and introducing sector-specific support windows for the most vulnerable industries, which is the textile, apparel, gems and jewelry, leather, engineering goods and agri-marine exports. On top of this, the government is also weighing indirect tax reliefs from recent GST cuts to faster, smoother ITC refunds, which could immediately free up cash for MSMEs. The broader goal is to ease working capital stress, protect jobs and buy exporters crucial time as they search for new markets. In fact, many exporters are already experimenting with nearshoring through Bhutan and Nepal while diversifying shipments to other destinations. Now, the message here is very clear. The centre wants to shield India's employment-intensive export backbone from the external shock and ensure the sector continues to power growth despite global headwinds. Back to you.
Shivani, many thanks. President Trump continues his rhetoric against India. This time, he's taken a jab at the troika of Prime Minister Modi, Russian President Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping, who met at the SCO summit last week. And now here's what President Trump has posted on Truth Social. He says, and I quote, "It looks like we've lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China. May they have a long and prosperous future together." End of quote. President Trump's post was accompanied with a photograph of Prime Minister Modi, Russian President Putin and Xi Jinping from the summit in Tianjin, where they were sharing a lighter moment. Remember, the trip to Tianjin was Prime Minister Modi's first China visit in 7 years amidst the tariff standoff with the US. The three leaders were seen exchanging smiles and even holding hands at the summit. Meanwhile, US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has said he expects India to be at the table to make a trade deal in a month or two. In a conversation with Bloomberg, Lutnick has said that Washington is always willing to talk and it was wrong for India to increase purchases of Russian oil. Speaking to Network 18 yesterday, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal had said India and the US will continue to remain friends and a few comments cannot derail the relationship. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson has refused to comment on President Trump's post today when asked at a press conference. Here's what they had to say.
You know, some of the officials of the Trump administration, calling it Modi's war or, a laundromat of Kremlin. I mean, how do you react to this? I mean, are conciliatory noises coming from the other side now?
I think there could be either some misunderstandings or some personal opinions that may be reflected in that. I do not think that deters the US and India from continuing to maintain our strategic alliance and partnership. Our friendship is far stronger than a few comments that may be made by a few people.
अभी कुछ ही मिनट पहले अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति डोनाल्ड ट्रंप का एक ट्वीट आया है, एक पोस्ट उन्होंने किया है सोशल मीडिया पर. उन्होंने लिखा है कि लुक्स लाइक वी हैव लॉस्ट इंडिया एंड रशिया टू डीपेस्ट डार्केस्ट चाइना. मे दे हैव अ लॉन्ग एंड प्रॉस्परस फ्यूचर टुगेदर. प्रेसिडेंट डोनाल्ड जे ट्रंप. इस पर आपकी पहली प्रतिक्रिया.
Okay. Regarding the post, I have no comments to offer on this post at this point.
No comment, says the MEA on President Trump's post. The currency market action, the rupee slipping to a fresh low against the US dollar. The currency weighed down by foreign outflows in equities. Bond prices, meanwhile, gained in trade and the 10-year yield dropped below the 6.5% mark. Finance Minister speaking to Asked on the recent spike in bond yields, said bond yields becoming unsustainably high will have a bearing on both central and state government borrowings. She also said the RBI started to diversify from US government securities. Take a look.
Nirmalaji, India holds about $227 billion of US Treasury securities. It also holds a lot of gold in its reserves. Should we diversify away from US Treasuries for reserves?
To some extent, I think the Reserve Bank of India has already started doing it. I wouldn't want to divulge more by saying how are they doing it. But I think Reserve Bank has taken a very considered decision, and they've also done by purchasing gold. So I think the bank is competent and they're taking a fine call on it.
So we've seen that since June this year, the yield on 10-year bonds have risen 30 basis points since June, to more than 6.5%. Are you concerned about rising borrowing costs?
Yes, I wouldn't say I'm concerned, but I'm observing it. It is not affordable. And also at a time when interest rates are otherwise low,
yes,
bond yields becoming unsustainably high has a big bearing on the government. Not just our union government, states are also up against odds in getting affordable,
Also your fiscal math?
My fiscal math is as of now absolutely
of course,
fine.
Yeah.
My fiscal math is absolutely fine as of now. That's the finance minister, but also saying that she is observing what's happening in the bond market. India Inc. continues to welcome the GST rate cuts. Britannia's MD Varun Berry said that these cuts should foster a demand-driven environment and boost consumption. Reiterating the same sentiment, Titan's MD Ajoy Chawla said that the government's move could move more money into the hands of the consumer. Bata CEO Gunjan Jha said the GST cut has been timed perfectly ahead of the festive season.
It's a big initiative, Mangalam, and I do think that this should create the demand scenario that the Honorable Prime Minister has envisaged for the country.
These changes come into effect from September 22nd. So I suppose the second half of this year is where we should expect higher volume growth?
The grammage changes usually take a little bit more time than price decreases. So part of the portfolio will be done immediately, and a part of the portfolio might take a month and a half to get it to the consumers.
How has sentiment been right now, and how much do you think will these cuts boost sentiment at large?
Leaving out the temporary stagnation in the last couple of months due to heavy rainfall, I do think that overall impact is going to be very, very positive from a consumption standpoint.
Right, sir. Also, just in terms of, let's talk about dairy and cheese as well, right? Why leave them out? Because they have seen a reduction coming in. So overall, what are we expecting and what are you expecting in terms of synergies here because of this cut? Anything in terms of increase, and how will this price cut also be passed on? Will it be similar that grammage increase or price cuts?
Well, in dairy, it's mostly going to be price changes, straight price changes. And that can be done very, very quickly. And I do think that that's also going to have a very positive impact.
Well, that's Britannia's Varun Berry on the GST cuts. Electronics and IT Secretary S. Krishnan expects a consumption spike in white goods on the back of the GST rate cuts. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Krishnan predicts a spillover effect in downstream industries. He said he expects industry to repay government's trust by transmitting the cuts to consumers. Take a look.
This is a very forward-looking, much-needed reform, and I think it's a very significant reform. Now, it also so happens that when you've eliminated the 28% rate and you've brought it down substantially by 10% to just 18%, a large number of goods, particularly in the electronics sector, fall within that category. In addition, a large number of white goods and other goods of mass consumption which use various electronics parts as inputs also fall within that categorization. It should, as you pointed out, coming as it does just on the eve of the festive season, certainly help consumption and lift the spirits in terms of consumption. And it plays on the idea that India is a big market.
Well, that is the Métis Secretary. Japan's SoftBank has trimmed its stake in Ola Electric to over 15%. The Japanese investment major offloaded 2% stake in the EV scooter maker through open market transactions in less than 2 months. Despite the move, SoftBank remains Ola Electric's second largest shareholder behind founder Bhavish Agarwal. The stock under pressure today. SpiceJet has posted a quarterly loss for the second time in the last 6 quarters. The airline's revenue from operations dropping about 34% year on year. SpiceJet said the performance was impacted by costs related to grounded aircraft and expenses towards their return to service, adding that airspace restrictions in key markets have also hurt leisure travel demand. So that's SpiceJet for you. Freshworks founder Girish Mathrubootham has announced he will be stepping down from the company. His exit comes 4 years after the company made its debut in the US. In a post on social media, Mathrubootham said that this has been a journey of a lifetime and now he will focus together on a fund, a venture fund he co-founded to work with AI startups. So Girish Mathrubootham starting a fresh innings. Up next on India Business Hour, US President Trump hosts tech CEOs at the White House, including Meta founders Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Sam Altman and more. That when we return. Catch all of CNBC-TV18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. Well, the big global stories, at least 44 people have been killed as Israeli forces continue to bombard Gaza. The Israeli army has claimed that it has claimed 40% of the Gaza City and now preparing to expand its assault on more displacement. The Gaza Health Ministry said that at least 30% of Palestinians killed in Israeli attacks have been children. From one war-torn region to another, the Russian army killed 5 people, injured 6 others in strikes in Kharkiv and northern Ukraine. This comes as Russian President Putin warned that any peacekeeping force deployed in Ukraine would be treated as a legitimate military target. Remember, a coalition of 26 nations led by France and Britain have pledged to send what they call a reassurance force to Ukraine. America's top tech CEOs queued up at the White House to sing praises of President Trump, from Mark Zuckerberg to Bill Gates to Sundar Pichai to Tim Cook. They were all at dinner at the president's invitation, all except, you guessed it, Elon Musk. A former Trump aide and now a bitter rival. Trump referred to the CEOs as a high IQ group leading a revolution in business. That's not all. In pure Trump style, he asked each CEO one question: how much are you investing in our country? Not only did the CEOs pledge big investments, they also took turns to praise Trump's leadership. Take a look.
How much are you spending, would you say, over the next few years?
Oh, gosh. I think it's probably going to be something like, I don't know, at least $600 billion through 28 in the U.S.
I think it's the AI moment is one of the most transformative moments any of us have ever seen or will see in our lifetimes. So making sure the U.S. is at the forefront, and I think your administration is investing a lot. Already the AI action plan under your leadership, I think, is a great start, and we look forward to working together, and thanks for your leadership.
Great job you're doing. Incredible, really, job. Bill, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you for incredible leadership, including getting this group together.
Thank you, Bill. That's very nice.
I want to thank you for including me this evening. It's incredible to be among everyone here, particularly you and the First Lady. I've always enjoyed having dinner and interacting. I want to thank you for setting the tone such that we could make a major investment in the United States.
Well, tech CEOs there with Trump at dinner discussing AI and Trump's leadership. India is looking to secure future supply chains of critical minerals as it looks to expand trade with South America. Abhimanyu standing by to explain how this is going to happen. Abhi.
As part of its trade expansion strategy, India is in talks with Chile and Peru for FTAs to secure supply chains of critical minerals. For the first time, a separate chapter on critical minerals is being discussed between India, Peru and Chile as far as FTAs are concerned. The second round of negotiations with Chile had taken place last week, and the next round of negotiations is expected to take place in October. Now, moving ahead, as the use of critical minerals increases in the Indian economy, India is looking to secure supply chains for critical minerals. India imports gold from Peru and minerals like lithium, copper and molybdenum from Chile. Also, the current per capita consumption of copper in India is nearly half than that of developed countries. So it's expected to rise as the pace of growth increases in India. India is also trying to secure supply chains, whereas both these countries are trying to diversify their trade destinations to prevent a single or a few countries from stockpiling their mineral deposits. So clearly, it's being touted as a win-win situation for both the sides, even as negotiations are going on, and India is seeking preferential rights in exploration as well as enduring rates for lithium, molybdenum and copper as part of the FTA talks.
Abhi, many thanks. Moving on, rains across North India. 43 people have died in Punjab in the worst flood in decades. The Satluj River has begun to overflow after heavy rainfall in 23 districts. The Ludhiana District Administration has issued an alert after an embankment came under heavy pressure due to the strong flow of the river. Heavy downpour also gripped the national capital, causing severe waterlogging and widespread traffic disruptions. The Yamuna River has reached beyond its danger mark. However, officials say the water is likely to recede. The Mumbai police have received a threat that 34 bombs have been planted in vehicles across the city. The message, which was sent on WhatsApp, threatened that 400 kgs of RDX will be used in the blast. Police officials said the message said that an organization named Lashkar-e-Jihadi has sent 14 Pakistani terrorists into India. Security has been stepped up and multiple agencies, including the anti-terror squad, are investigating the threat. Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. It has been a busy week. Big cuts coming in on the GST front. Lots to digest, lots to factor in. But of course, we're going to be ready with the trading action and more. We'll see you Monday. And of course, do remember to stay tuned to CNBC-TV18 on the weekend. We have a power-packed lineup for you. Plenty to watch. From all of us here, goodbye. Thanks for watching.